going to review Ready to Love, Season 4, Episode 11, which was broadcast December 31st, 2021. A Reason, a Season, or a Lifetime was the name of the episode. And this was a pretty interesting episode. And I'm going to start off with Shiloh, who is a pretty interesting character and certainly was throwing everything into disarray on this episode. Shiloh says she is an intimacy coach. That's what she normally does. And so she was interested in Phil. And she had a lot of aspirations of doing well with Phil, but Phil was also interested in Sydney. When she told Phil that she wanted a decision, more or less, Phil didn't like being put in that position, and he basically gave her the shut up kiss. Stop talking to me, and, trust me, I'm in your corner, blah, blah, blah. And she felt initially, well, he is trying to reassure me, he likes me, and then later she said, well, she wasn't real happy with having the kiss. Well, you have to recognize the shut-up kiss. The shut-up kiss is you're putting them in a position that they don't want to make a decision, they don't want to talk about something anymore, you're irritating them, you're getting on their nerves, and so they're going to kiss you to shut you up and either change the subject or just don't talk anymore. So Shiloh went out on a date with Phil, and that date really turned bad. Well, it was a lot of different things. They were out bar hopping, and so she and Phil were drinking. Phil says he only had one drink. Shiloh didn't say how many drinks she had. And then they started arguing. Now, their date lasted till like 4 or 5 in the morning, and now they're out in the street. Probably all the bars had closed, and they're out in the street arguing. She wants to leave in D.C., walk off in some direction, and Phil says, no, you can't go because, I'm responsible for you out here. And she says, no, I just want to go off down the street. You can watch me, but don't follow me. And then, of course, if something happened, she would expect Phil to come racing down the street to help her, but he didn't want to put himself in that position. He said, you get in the car here now with me, and I'll put you somewhere safe. She didn't want to do that. She felt that he was trying to hurt her. Now, she makes a distinction. She says, he wasn't trying to hurt me physically. He was trying to hurt me emotionally. Now, to me, that made absolutely no sense. I don't know what she was talking about. Hurting her emotionally, I think the only thing she was saying is that he was telling her that she wasn't his top pick for the show, and she was trying to do him harm by saying he was trying to hurt her. And then, if further coached, she would say it wasn't physical, it was emotional. He was just trying to get her safe in the car so that there wouldn't be any injury to her, that she wouldn't hurt herself, that he wouldn't have to answer for this days later when he found out maybe she'd been murdered in an alley or something. And so he was looking out for himself, he was looking out for her, and she really brought this all to a crazy level that I really was having trouble understanding. Now, I think Shiloh has a problem, in my opinion. She's a drinker, and I think she probably was drinking too much. Who knows? There may have been some drugs involved, but they never mentioned drugs. And Shiloh also looks like a fighter. She is a person who has probably come to blows once or twice, but they didn't mention that, but that was just my impression of Shiloh. And so I don't think she can be trusted in her evaluation of Phil. I do feel that she was really, really upset that she wasn't the chosen one for Phil. She had chosen Phil, but Phil didn't choose her. So I think that was the main problem that she was having there. And in her meetings with Tommy, the host, and the people on this show, she described herself as heartbroken, disheartened, hurt. angry. And she went on and on. And so basically, she should have said, I mean, she was only meeting 20 guys. It was very easy to meet 20 guys and not find one that you're in love with or that is a great partner for you. And so she just basically should have said, I don't think this is the right guy for me. No one here is really the guy I'm looking for. And gone off. But she shouldn't have left it in such a nasty state. And I was really thinking negatively of her because of all the confusion and negativity she was putting around this show, and the fact that they had just set her up to meet 20 guys, and she should have just left when she realized that she and Phil were not meeting at the same level. Maybe there was some sex involved somewhere along their path, and we don't know about that because these people do meet outside of what we see. So maybe there was something else she did for Phil that she felt really, really had led her down a path that she felt meant that Phil was going to pick her. But, very childish, and I think she should have just gracefully bowed out and said, she's not picking Phil. But these people really don't want to leave the show. They want to be on the TV for do or die, whatever. So she did not have anyone meet Phil. This episode, the girls, the females, were supposed to have the men meet a relative in their family, and they can question this potential suitor and see how he fits in the family. So Shiloh said, of course, that she did not pick anyone for Phil to meet in her family because they were not matching up. So I'm going to go on to Sydney. Now, Sydney's 33. I like Sydney. Sydney has the sweetest smile, and when she squinches her eyes, she gives the impression that it's a sincere smile. And she is, I believe, an entrepreneur, so I don't know what she does. And she had two people she was going to meet. One is Phil, the one that Shiloh had such a bad date with, and he's 37. And the other one that she was going to have her family meet is Frank. So Phil met with her mom and stepfather. And that visit went well. Phil was comfortable. The mom asked Phil what were his finances, and Sydney said, no, you can't ask about finances, which is kind of true. You don't want the mom asking about finances, but moms do want to know that when they have their daughter in a relationship that they don't have to worry anymore about them financially. So it was kind of an appropriate question. It was kind of an inappropriate question, but Sydney laughed it off, and so there were no answers about what Phil's financial stability was. And that was a good meeting, they felt. The next person Sydney introduced her family to was Frank. Now, Frank did not meet the mom and the stepfather, but Frank met Sydney's sister. And Frank is, I believe, in the beverage industry. And the sister was asking lots of questions of Frank. And Frank said, there was another person that he was also interested in. But he was really, really interested in Sydney, and he did not want their relationship to end. As you'll find out in another interview, Frank is a first-generation American born. His family is from Ghana. So his parents are African, and we'll go into that with another relationship. But the only thing I had to think about, that meeting with Sydney and Frank also went well, but you could see Sydney was not as much into Frank. She was a little bit harder on Frank. And the other thing I thought about looking at Sydney and Frank together is that Frank looks a little paunchy, And Sydney looks like she exercises a lot and really takes good care of her body and eats well. Frank looks like he's a little less so, so I don't know about that relationship. But Sydney basically had two good meetings with her family and Frank and Phil. The next person is Sabrina. Now, Sabrina is the oldest one. She's 46, and her person is Walter. She introduced Walter to her cousin, and her cousin was not there. She just had a baby, so she met with her cousin via Zoom, and that seemed to go well. I noticed about Sabrina that she tends to use these names of affection for Walter. She calls him her boo, and when he was ready to leave, she called him sweetheart, and I thought that was a little bit premature, as these people are just kind of filling each other out and trying to figure out whether or not there's going to be a longer term relationship other than the show. So she is one who really latches on quickly and starts to use these words of affection, and it's much easier than actually having to learn the man's name. Now, my feeling about Sabrina, it did come out on past shows that she was not a stripper, she's a pole dancer or something, a dancer. And so a person in that industry, of course, is very used to making quick connections with men on a regular basis. So every day she worked, she probably had to become very close to a number of men, because that's how they work. They get men in the club, then they get them to buy them drinks, and they sit and they dance and they talk and they smooch or whatever they do. And so Sabrina has that problem in that was her job for like 12 years. I don't know how many years she did it. She may have done it 20 years. But she is very accustomed to developing fake relationships with men over her working career, and I don't really trust what she says. I think that stuff is all second nature to her, and that she can easily bring a man in close and make him feel that she likes him, but she may have absolutely no feelings for him at all. So I can't really believe anything Sabrina says based on her past history, and I think Walter has a problem in that he wants kids. He has no kids right now, and Sabrina does not want to have children. She's 46, she's finished, she's closed that door. So for that reason, they are not a fit. If a person wants kids, they are not going to be happy in a relationship with a person if the woman does not want kids at all. And that is their situation. Sabrina does not want kids. Walter wants kids. So I would say they are not at all fit as a couple. They might be fit as friends, but Walter will, I feel, have to continue looking on to find his proper mate. Aisha, I like Aisha. She is a hairdresser. She's 37. She presented to us as a blonde. She looks really good, I think, in dark hair, and she had her family meet Daonte. Daonte is also 37, and he is a deputy superintendent, and they didn't explain more what that means. He has 3 kids from 3 moms, which is a huge negative. And she introduced Daonte to her relatives, and it seems that they actually liked Daonte, and they were willing to take a risk with him. Now, Daonte, I think, is a risky person because of his 3 moms, 3 kids situation, and Aisha has just come out of a 12-year relationship with some other person, and I believe she has a number of kids. So this might be a good friendship or possibly even partner situation, in that they both have kids. They're not looking to have kids. Aisha is probably still rebounding from her relationship. I don't know. We don't know anything about that relationship or how or why it ended, and we don't know anything about Daonte and his past relationships, but he tries to smooth things over and say all of those were basically fine. So Aisha and Daonte, possibly. Oh, Aisha introduced Daonte to her mother and brother, and they both seem to like Daonte. Okay, the next and last person is Mumen, who is 36. Now, I really like Mumen. I didn't like her in the beginning. She is a singer and songwriter. That's how she identifies herself. And the person she introduced her family to was Frank. Okay, now Mumen, 36, she identifies herself as a singer and songwriter, and she introduced her family to Frank. Now, it seems that Frank is the first generation in his family to be born in the United States. His family is from Africa. Now, Africa is a continent, and usually you pick a country. So Frank says his family is from Ghana. Mumen's father says not Cameroon, and Mumen says, well, no one from Cameroon was in the group that we were picking from. So Mumen's father says, okay, well, this is close enough, and he was happy to meet Frank. Frank informs us that his real name is Daonte in his native language. Mumen's sister, she is a gap-toothed woman, much like Michael Strahan on Good Morning America, and so I found her to be a very pleasant appearing person, but she was really taking a deep look at Frank, and this family was very serious. They said, if you're just playing around, this is not a good place to be playing, and you might as well just move on. So they had a good meeting with Frank, and I thought everything went well. So I think I've covered them all. So basically, in summary, Shiloh is a no-go, and she did bow out after her meeting with Phil at the end of the show, but she was still trying to say that, claiming that she was hurt by Phil, and then later on, of course, she would say she was emotionally hurt. She was not physically hurt. He was not physically trying to hurt her. I didn't like her always bringing that up. I didn't like her trying to make something out of nothing, and clearly from the explanation of the situation, I think she was just drinking too much, maybe using drugs, who knows what else was going on, and they shouldn't have been out having this bar hopping date till 4 or 5 in the morning. That was just ridiculous. So she bowed out and she went off, and she might need to have some counseling, maybe go to Alcoholics Anonymous, and need to rethink whether she is a proper intimacy coach based on the craziness of her relationship on this show. Sydney seems to be more interested in Phil, and that's just based on her feelings about Phil. I think she did well with both Phil and Frank, but Frank does look to be a little bit plumper than Sydney, and they might have problems as far as their energy level, their exercise level, and so forth. So for Sydney, I would probably pick Phil. For Mumen, she seemed to do really well with Frank. He is from Ghana. Mumen's family did seem to like Frank. For Aisha, I think she and Daonte can do well as friends. I don't know whether or not they are interested in a close relationship. Aisha has just come out of a relationship from 12 years, and Daonte does have this history of love 'em and leave 'em with 3 kids, 3 moms, so he might not be the stable person that Aisha is looking for, but they do have some similarities and seem to get along well. So that's basically, I think I've covered everybody. Next episode is the final episode because everybody seems to be going. And so next episode is the last episode, and we will see how it ends up. They only have 3 women left: Mumen, Sydney, and Sabrina. Well, I kind of count her out because of her history. So there are really only 2. I'm looking at Aisha and Sydney. Okay, that's my summary of the show. I hope you're having a great New Year's, and I will talk to you later. Bye.